you could be on a stage of 1,000 people, and if people are, maybe chit-chatting and they're not 100% focused, it's better to have one person listening that's 100% there. So when you get that as a musician, that's one of the biggest gifts, one of the biggest blessings you could ask for.
Oh, we've got all these moments like this. 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 I don't know what I believe. Guess I never thought about it too much. I pretend I'm okay. I love to sing, but I don't like to talk much. People say that I'm brave, but I'm stubborn, won't settle. And I'll pursue my dreams till I'm dead or unable.
Welcome to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. This is Chris Miller. I invite you to join me as I interview artists from a variety of disciplines. We'll share powerful stories and lessons learned while making their art. Good day, listeners. This is the Spiritual Artist Podcast with CJMiller, your host. It is a warm day here in Dallas, Texas, and I'm excited to introduce a guest that honestly, I don't know him that much, but I've listened to his music and it is beautiful. We'll talk about that in a minute, but he's also a friend of our recent interview. If you listen to Ariel Basso's interview, he's an artist in Miami recently and a musician. He connected me with Eugene, and so let's go and say hi to him. Introducing Eugene Kurolap. He's a nomad singer-songwriter who travels with a mobile stage. He had manifested and continues to drive throughout the country and popping it open wherever he goes. It's pretty interesting. I love the pictures of this. So I'm going to have to get a picture and put it on this YouTube channel so you can see this picture of his van. But how are you doing today, Eugene?
Pretty good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. And where are you at today?
Today I'm at in Almosa, Colorado, basically on my way to Buena Vista, Telluride, and then I'm going to try to figure out where to spend the month of June because last year I came to Colorado for the first time and I loved it. But the first month was still cold, the snow was still melting, and I, like to go to swim in the river, and it's always cold over there. But so, do you have any suggestions of like within 500 miles of Colorado? Where's a nice little town where they would appreciate music just randomly
Oh, I don't
popped up on
know.
the
We
streets?
ask our listeners to suggest some suggestions. I'm not sure. I just got back from Santa Fe and I
Yeah.
did an art retreat and it actually started snowing. And I
Wow.
expected spring and it was beautiful though. It was beautiful. But
Yeah, last time around this time, I think in Buena Vista, Colorado, and there's a hot springs there. I forgot what it's called, but we're sitting there. It's maybe 30-ish degrees outside, and it's snowing, but we're in the hot tubs, so it's nice and warm,
it's
but it's
beautiful,
beautiful.
yeah.
Yes, I love that dichotomy.
Well, this is so wild. So explain to people what a nomad singer-songwriter is, because this is kind of new for me.
Well, I'm a singer-songwriter, so I write songs and I sing them. And for the last decade, I've been traveling. And when I was in Tel Aviv, in Israel, I discovered that I can actually make a living singing in the streets because I met a musician girl who was doing that. And at the time, I was doing sales. I was doing telemarketing. So I was that annoying guy calling people. And I wouldn't say aggressive about it, but I had a lot of fun. Like people would hang up on me, and I call them back, like, yeah, why'd you hang up on me? And that kind of thing. And then
And did
so
they
I met this.
answer? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. And then this girl inspired me because in 2 hours she made my singing on the streets with little amplifiers. She made my daily wage in 2 hours. So I thought, what? I mean, I could sing. I thought, looking back at the videos, maybe not so much, but it was always a hobby. So I thought I'd give it a shot, and it worked. And then I tried it in other countries, and it worked. And then I just kept going, one foot in front of the other.
That's wild. I honestly, I was not aware of such a thing. So I think it's amazing. And I will tell you that I've spent the last couple days after Ariel introduced you, and he has performed on some of your songs, right?
Oh, a lot of my songs, and he also does a lot of the art pieces that are my art covers.
Oh, I noticed that. Listeners, if you didn't haven't listened to the interview with Ariel Basso, Basso, go back and listen to it. Great conversation. So I'm excited to talk to you about music. I have talked to actors, musicians, performers, artists, all as part of the Spiritual Artist podcast. It's been a while since I've talked to a musician, and so I love picking their brains about like the lyrics and how they're inspired. So first, I want to tell you, Eugene, I've this is hard to explain, but I listened to some of your music, and I have to tell you, sometimes I kind of had this instinct, and I listened to your voice, and it's fantastic, and your music's fantastic, and I thought I'm talking to this guy right before he goes big. I'm serious. That's what I thought. I thought this guy's really going to go, but he hasn't gone yet. He's just on the cusp. But the talent and the versatility of your voice. I mean, your voice has so many. You have the the acapella, the high voice. I mean, it's so diverse. I think you pretty much could sing almost anything.
I wouldn't say so, but thank you.
What do you like to sing? What is your favorite genre?
I think like poppy, folky. I didn't. Um, I grew up listening to a variety of things like Backstreet Boys, Linkin Park, Blink 182, Eminem. Uh, so it's a weird kind of combination. Then Maroon 5 was the first album my sister bought me for my birthday. James Blunt was the first concert that I went to.
Oh, wow.
And so sometimes people tell me that I sound like James Blunt. Sometimes they tell me that I sound like Passenger. And of course, my reply to them is no, they sound like me. So
Of course.
get a little laugh,
We have to, yeah,
a
you're original,
little chuckle.
definitely. So kind of a folksy kind of sound.
Yeah, folksy poppy.
Yeah. Um, so let's talk about this. I love your songs. Is this your most recent release? God Help Me Cope.
God Help Me Cope was my most recent release a couple of months ago. The most recent one is called Nothing Is Free.
Oh, okay.
I just
All
released
right.
that too. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to that one yet, but
I think I did. I think I did. And was that folksy?
it's
Was that
very like
folksy?
cinematic. A lot of
Yeah.
and there's cellos and there's a beautiful singer in there, Marissa Zakinata, whose voice I love, and I've have her voice on a lot of my songs as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Hmm.
So I could just see when you started talking about music. When did you discover that's your kind of creative DNA, that's your passion is singing songs?
Probably. I mean, my mom signed me up to choir when I was a kid, when I was 6 years old, and I liked going, but I was always a bad student in music, but also in real life, and just had a trouble focusing and paying attention and learning. I've always had a little bit of an attitude problem, so in choir, I would just always sing the harmonies, like reading notes and memorizing things was not really my cup of tea. I think I just went there for the social life. But when I was in high school, I picked up the guitar. We had to learn instruments, so I thought my dad was already playing guitar, and so I picked that up and kind of self-taught YouTube videos and chords, and I used that as an excuse to sing, because before I was playing piano a little bit more, which I love piano more than guitar. It's a beautiful instrument. Maybe cello is my favorite though. I wish I could play cello. But yeah,
Oh.
so high school, and I would just become that annoying kid in a way that's still true today. That I just bring my guitar everywhere and just whatever there's something up here going on, maybe bring the guitar out and see if I could put that melody to some words.
So you're taking a feeling that you have in an
Yeah, I'm always like
experience.
diddling around the guitar, kind of playing random things, and then I get fixated on something. I get stuck on a melody, and then maybe it's a couple of days, maybe it's a couple of weeks, and I'm also listening to different information. Mostly it's actually not music, mostly it's podcasts these days. And then I have some things on my mind, and then I put that onto that melody, and it becomes a song.
So does the melody just come from within? Or do you hear something in nature or around you that makes you hear sound, a
No,
certain.
I think I'm just doodling, and then maybe accidentally I come up with some little lick. I'm like, oh, I like that, and then that one goes to that one, and that one goes to the other one, and it just kind of naturally progresses itself. And to be frank, I don't know what the audience age restrictions are. Do you have
That's fine.
children listening to your podcast
No,
or?
no,
Well, okay, good. 'Cause most of the time, uh, I never force a song unless it's a song, a custom song, because that's one of the things I do. But I'm smoking weed and
no.
I'm just like in that Ariel maybe you would call it like antenna mode, where I'm just like
Uh-huh.
downloading. He would say downloading information from the universe, and then it just kind of comes out. And usually it's like one line or a verse that I write really quickly, and then for the rest of the song, I actually have to think, okay, well, if I said that, what do I really mean? And that has to mean that, and then I have to have this next line, and then et cetera, et cetera.
So you come in with the intuition, and then your mind is stepping in and helping organize it a little bit.
Yes, yes, yeah. The first part of the song is usually just all intuition, and then the mind kind of has to make sense of it and write it.
That's interesting because I do the kind of the same thing when I paint. I have what I call flow, where I'm
Right.
just right? And
Yeah.
then I have what I call meditative, where I clean it up. I start like, okay, that looks beautiful, but it's not working there, or I have to take it out and move it around, you
And
know.
when you're in flow, are you also under the influence, or just you're
Uh,
listening to some music? You're
no, I am. I have learned to get into the state. I will have a glass of wine or something like that.
yeah.
I've learned to do it without an influence, but I have certainly had a glass of wine or whiskey on the rocks or whatever to get, you know. Or I used to back in the day. I used to like pull out wine and smoke a cigarette, and I'd get. It was like a ritual, you know. It's a
Yeah.
ritual, you know. So do you have a certain ritual that gets you into that place?
Yeah, a lot of the times it's just cannabis.
Have you ever had it happen without the cannabis?
I'd have to really dig down and think and look through all the songs and be like which one was probably the boring ones are the ones that are without
Well,
the
there is
cannabis.
something magical because I think what you're doing is you're tapping into your subconsciousness. You know that I call it the one mind or that consciousness, and it's coming out in this really creative way. You
Yeah,
know.
and it's interesting because I only started smoking weed. I was like a good, even though I wasn't good, but I was like I like to follow the rules.
Uh
I was the kind of guy that would drive the speed limit, and I took that stuff seriously. I remember when I was 16, I arranged a little tour picking up some kids to school on my way because I have an early birthday. It's in February, so I was one of the first to get a license, and I'd like pick up some people on the way, and like they'd pay me $1 so to cover the gas. But if they didn't buckle up, I mean the first couple of times I would tell them, but then after that I would just slam on the brakes, and they learned really quickly. So I was very square. And then when I was in Tel Aviv in 2015, I remember I had to leave because if I stayed, um, rewind. I was born in Russia, and then when I was 2 years old, we moved to Israel. And because I have an Israeli passport or citizenship, if I was under 26 years old, I would have had to join the army, which I didn't want to do.
huh.
So I left and I went to Mexico for a couple of months. And that's when I really started surfing, smoking, and just my mind and way of being changed a lot. And I think that's when a lot of my songs started blossoming.
Oh yeah, it's just
Yeah.
unfurling, right?
Yeah.
So
Just a different state of mind, like you said.
it is a different state of mind. It sounds like you've been around a lot. So I want to talk to you about because I love these photos of you performing in the side of what size truck is that?
It's 23 feet long. It's like if you could imagine a FedEx or a UPS white truck. This actually used to be, I thought it was a FedEx truck, but turns out it was actually a laundry truck. And I bought it from a guy that converted it into a little getaway vehicle. He had like bicycles in here, a stove, and I changed it around, took almost everything out, and started first with this recording studio that like I'm sitting in the recording studio section of it because that was the most important thing for me. And then eventually I knew that I wanted to get built a stage because when I was in Australia in 2017, for the first time in my life, I lived in a van. And I loved the idea because I didn't have to pay any rent, and I think, like between ten and $15,000 in debt. And within a year of me living in a van, I paid off my debt completely.
Wow, that's great.
And then I saw someone that built a home out of a box truck. And I think that's where the gears started turning. I'm like, what if I could take all these things and put them into one?
Ha! I think it's great. I think it's great. So I
I
want to
think so
ask you
too.
about that experience when you're performing and you have a crowd out there.
Oh my God, yeah. It's
How does
amazing.
that feel? Yeah,
It's
is
amazing.
it feel like when you're creating? Is it the same feeling?
No, no, it's a different feeling, but it's you could be on a stage of 1,000 people, and if people are maybe chit chatting and they're not 100% focused, it's better to have one person listening that's 100% there. So when you get that as a musician, that's one of the biggest gifts, one of the biggest blessings you could ask for. And before singing on the streets with a stage, I would just do it with an amp. And sometimes I'd manage to gather maybe 10, 20, 30 people around. And it's such a cool experience because out of nowhere you're creating this moment, and people could be anywhere. If someone's at a concert, they paid money, they're there, they're focused. But now, out of thin air, I managed to gather an audience, and they're listening, they're there, and they're listening, and it's so cool. And when there's a stage, it's even cooler.
So it's like magic,
Because
really.
I've
I
no
mean,
I know they've never seen something like this before. Most
uh-huh.
likely 99.9. How many people have seen a mobile stage?
Mm-mm.
And the looks and the comments that I get are pretty spectacular.
Well, I can imagine, you know? I mean, and so especially when you talk about that feeling of people just going about their business, it's so much harder, right? To grab them and pull them in.
Yeah, but when I do, it's magical because they could be doing anything else, but they chose to something about me stop them in the middle of their tracks, and they're there, they're present.
Mm.
And so a lot of my songs I write about being present.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the lyric. I wanted to talk about this one song. It just resonated with me. You said it was a few years old,
Yeah,
but it's called Surrender.
yeah,
And it talks about being rushed and rushing around. Um, I'm just going to read one of the lines, okay?
yeah,
Let me see. But I can't help my own damn nature. My mind is full of doubts and dreams, and so controls what I resort to through surrender, though surrender is what I need. Let me repeat that. And so controls what I resort to, though surrender is what I need.
yeah.
So let's unpack that.
Okay. But
How is
I
it to
can't help my own damn nature. My mind is full of doubts and dreams, and so controls what I resort to. Though surrender is what I need. I'm always trying to control things, control the situation. If I'm pulling up somewhere and I have my stage open, and there's some business they have their own music that's coming in from inside the shop, I've learned of creative ways of going up to them and not being a complete asshole, but saying, "Hey, could you turn your music off? I'm about to do my thing." I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna do some music outside." You know, I ask politely. So I'm always trying to control situation or message people, but sometimes the most magical moments happen when I'm not pushing. I'm just being, and then the universe kind of brings people in the situation, whatever it is. So in that specific song, I was in. Have you ever been to Barton Springs in Austin?
yes. Hmm.
My favorite. I pretty much live there when I'm. Austin's my springtime spot. And so what I do is I walk around with my guitar and I ask people. I try to approach groups so it's less intimidating. Would you guys like a song? And I hate doing that because well, it's like soliciting kind of, and you don't want to like what is this guy doing, right? Because sometimes I have a little bit of a homeless look about me, especially when I have long hair. But some of the most magical moments that I've had is when I was just one on one singing to someone, and someone approaches you with a guitar. What are the chances that you're gonna like what they're gonna sing, or that if you think they're gonna be good? So sometimes like when their eyes light up and then they start listening to my music like you did, it could be a magical thing. So in that song, I was I have to pull up the words, but I try not having expectations is how the song starts.
Hmm.
But at the same, so I was like walking around and I wanted to approach people, but I also didn't want to rush it, like push. So that's how this song got inspired. I was just playing those chords. I'm like, I try not having expectations, but I'm always in a rush. Think I'm addicted to attention, which is 100% true. But I know that in universe I need to trust. But I can't help my own damn
Oh,
nature. So the song just kind of
that's a
flowed.
great line. That's a
Yeah.
great line. That's kind of what I do with my artists is I teach them to I have this scale, it's a color scale, and I say on one end you're pushing too hard, you're trying to control. And on the other end you're kind of depressed and passive, and you want to be in the middle. I call it being in the green because that's the color in the middle. And that's where you're present and you're just listening. And it's really neat. And so when you're walking around there, if you just and you look at people, if you just be present with them, you know.
Yeah, I have to find that balance is a hard thing for me to find. I have to find that balance of just walking around with my guitar, maybe making eye contact. Sometimes people just invite, hey, come sing a song. I didn't have to do anything. I love it. Perfect. So, but that's what that song is kind of about, that like struggle and surrender.
Yeah, I it's funny. We've had a couple talks. I don't know if I have that song right now, but there was a song in there about um something with the lyric. I talked to you the other day about my faults or something, or lack.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Um, so anyway, we'll get back to that because I want to pick up that. So this other song that I really like too is this one that's more recent. God help me cope. And
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I was in, this was when I was in Australia and I bought that first van from a couple. They told me there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm a little skeptical. So I went to, or I have trust issues, let's put it that way. So I went to a mechanic and got it inspected, but it wasn't like a full inspection. That's one of my faults as well. Sometimes I'm a little bit too cheap, a little bit too frugal. So like you get a basic inspection, but you could go like pay a couple $100 more and get like a more in-depth one, right? And so it turns out that engine needed replacing.
Oh
So like
no.
I bought it in I think in either April or May, and it's still cold in Australia. So I'm like freezing, and I'm in this van that's got only three out of the four cylinders working, and I'm like halfway to not halfway, maybe a quarter of the way down the country from where I bought it, and then I realized the engine's messed up, it's overheating, and luckily I met a guy, a friend in who's in Melbourne, who's very handy, and he at the end of the day he helped me. He took the engine out. I helped him. We took the engine out, and like it was a, it's more labor. The actual part, it's like I don't know, 5, 10, $30, whatever it is. But it's the labor of that kind of thing that costs a lot of money. And but so when I was in that lowest moment, I had my very first when I realized that the van is screwed, and I was already in debt. And the first couple of months in Australia, I saved up a little bit of money so I could buy a van, just singing in the streets. And then when I realized that after I bought the van that I had my first panic attack, and that's when the song came out. And I'm not religious at all. In fact, for most of my life, I would have probably considered myself atheist. Now I'm kind of more in the agnostic slash spiritual camp, like universe, but not attachment to any specific Jesus or Moses or Muhammad
Right.
or anything like that. Um, but yeah, that was the lowest point in my life, and I wrote that song because I think a lot of people when they hit rock bottom, they turn to anything and or God in that case. So I'm like pleading with God, and the first line of the song is God help me cope. I'm not a
Right.
believer, but something is broke. I think I pulled a lever. My mind is a maze. It's like I'm on the right path, but it feels like something ain't right. It's like I'm always crawling. It never ends. I'm falling. That's how that song starts.
Well, when we were talking earlier, I was the same way. So that's what it reminds me of. I grew up Catholic, and so I was always taught, that traditional God on a throne type thing. And
Yeah.
it was only through my training as a spiritual coach that I started doing. I studied and read a lot. Is starting to reconfigure what my vision of God was. Instead of seeing God as this white man on a throne with with the punishment or something, I started seeing God as an energy like and so I know that there's a couple people in my family that are like, Chris has gotten religious, and it's like, no, I'm not religious. I see a system. There's a system. There's a system of creativity and creation on this planet. You know how things just kind of grow, and animals and creatures, and there's this evolution, and there's plants and trees. And so, when you were talking, like when you tap into it, when you surrender like you did, and you even and sometimes pot or marijuana helps you with that, or a glass of wine, sometimes dancing, sometimes just looking at something beautiful. When you surrender, you can connect to that power. And so I see that power coming from within, instead of, like, because we were taught, please, please save me, instead of saying, no, it's here, I'm connected to it.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that, how you're kind of dancing on the end of the path, is what you are, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's really interesting. I feel like there's something I just want you. After talking to you the other day and listening to you, if you were a student, if you were one of my students, and you're not, but if you were, I would say, I would say that I want you to embrace your power. I feel like you have so much talent, and then I feel like there's a part of you that standing off to the side of it, and maybe not acknowledging it, not acknowledging who you are. And so I just want to say, embrace it. Come on, Eugene, take it. Talk about how, that feeling when you have it, and how when you stand up in front of people, if you have the power to bring people to stop in their little lives and come up and listen to you,
You've
that's
got the power.
you got the power,
Dum,
right?
dum,
I mean, you
dum,
do.
dum, 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 dum.
In falsetto, or regular voice.
Yeah.
It's amazing, the flexibility of it. You're a very flexible singer. Do you feel that way?
I'm also somewhat flexible in real life.
Are
I
you?
can I can almost do the splits.
It's that trust thing, though. It's that trust thing. So
Trust your groin will not rip apart when you're doing the splits.
you won't. Yeah, you won't. So what are you working on now? Like, what's your next big thing?
I'm trying to get to a point where I'm releasing one song per month.
Hmm.
And so I have this thing called the Genie Club, and right now I think I have about 35-ish people supporting me on a monthly basis. They subscribe to the Genie Club and they get access to all my releases before they come out, but they also have access to all the songs that I'm working on. So I'm going to send you a link after this podcast. Whenever I start recording a new song, I often post it on this Genie Club, and people get to see how the song evolves, and most importantly, they get to vote which song I release next. So right now,
Oh,
we're raising about 350 to 400 bucks a month. I think when I get to $800 a month, I could do once a month. Because I've been going through a bunch of different mix engineers, and there's this one the one that mixed "God Help Me Cope." He's the one. If you're into spiritual music, you might know who Trevor Hall is.
yeah. Hmm.
So Trevor Hall, this guy is his mixing engineer for a lot of his songs, and also his drummer. So when they go on tour, Jeff Martin, he's the drummer, and he did that song "God Help Me Cope," and it turned out to be so beautiful. And he's gonna do another one or two songs for me in August. So I just keep creating, releasing a song a month. I don't have any like specific grand plans. I kind of just live in this whole the universe will open the doors
It
whenever
will.
it's ready, whenever I'm ready, who knows. And just for now, keep traveling, recording songs, performing, and hope. Although a wise person said hope is not a strategy. Hope that something magical is going to happen.
No, but you can have the intent. Just have the intent that your message will get out, and then just let it happen. I think I think you sent me that list, and I'd love to put it, if there's a way to put it in the bio, the description of this, so people can look it up. Are the songs that are voted the highest at the top?
No, no, those are the ones that are most recent in production.
Oh, yeah. There was a song. I don't know if it's called "Just Breathe" or "It." Is that right? Is
Maybe breathe.
"Breathe"?
Yeah, and a lot of these songs are gonna go on unfinished, and they're just gonna stay in that folder, and most people are never gonna. But
That's
it's
a
I think
shame, Eugene. That's
well,
a
not
shame.
not necessarily. I mean, imagine like one of your favorite artists. They have maybe 100 released songs, and then there's like little pieces. Because I never like to force to
Right.
finish a song, but it's kind of cool for people that are like, imagine you got a chance to support your favorite artist in that way, and then you get to hear songs that will never see the light of day. and they're little bits, and maybe they're gonna resonate with you, but they're never gonna. Or maybe you love them so much, you're gonna get a bunch of your friends to join the Genie Club and vote for that to be, because when you
Produced.
join, you get to also nominate what song I put up for the next vote.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. That Breed song, I don't know if I thought you sounded a little bit like Chris Isaac. I don't know if you know who that is. It's from my generation. But yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, the flexibility of your voice is
When it's
amazing.
warmed up, when it's not, it's terrible.
And there's also is one called "The Sun Is Resting on My Body" or something like that. Is that a
Yeah,
song?
yeah, pretty new one and just a little piece. I'm not even sure if I'll continue that song, but Ariel was actually the trumpet on that song.
The sun is resting on my body. The sun is resting on my soul. The sun, it holds me when I'm lonely. The sun, it warms me when I'm cold.
That's a great one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how do you feel it? How do you know the next like with this that song, that little segment you have sitting there, "The Sun Is Resting on My Body." Do you does it just pop up to you someday? Are you thinking about it? Does it come in or
Sometimes I'm literally going through this Genie Club songs and I listen to it. I'm like, oh, let's continue working on this. Or maybe it's in my head and I just open the project back up and I continue.
do you grab the sound or the words? What resonates with you?
I don't know. But I do know that in life, I have the kind of brain that something comes up, like someone says the sun, and then my brain is going to be like, oh, the sun is resting on my body. Or have another song called The Sun. So in this case, I'd have two things that pop into my brain.
So it's words too then. So the lyrics kind of move you.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, if you were like ever walking and down the street and suddenly you see a sign with certain words on it, and it goes, and you go,
It'll remind me of a song.
oh yeah.
A lot of the times that's what happens. Someone's just talking and a word in there triggers my into a song, which can be very annoying sometimes if you're with me all the time and like every couple of minutes I start singing something different.
Well, my son, he hasn't pursued music, but I wish he would have because he was that way when he was very little. He would hear and weird sounds like the microwave. He would hear like the microwave, and he would he would imitate the sound of the microwave. And
Can you give us a little demo right now? Do you remember how that microwave
yeah,
sounded?
like it was like the dun 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 dun, and it was really odd how he did that, and he would just carry it, or he'd pick a certain word that has a weird sound. Like, have you ever? I think several people like this word moist.
Yeah, for some reason that apparently that upsets a lot of women. That
It
where
does, and he would say it over and over and over again.
what is that?
It's
What is it about that word that
I don't know why it would
brought?
upset people. Moist. Why would it seems like it upsets several people. I thought it was funny, but so.
Yeah, it's funny to upset people.
And,
That's the moral of the story, right?
uh, well, I was just wondering if that's happened to you, if like you thought of words and they triggered you.
Yeah, yeah. To think about a song.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been great. Um, I really, really do like your voice and your sound. I'm going to encourage listeners to go to you're on Spotify. I found you on Spotify.
Yeah, the
Um,
easiest way to find me because Kurolap is no one's gonna remember that. Although in this episode, obviously there's the links, but the easiest way is website eugene-music.com. Or
yeah.
on Instagram, it's just one word, Eugene Music, and then from there, there's all those links.
Okay. That's great. Was there anything else you want to share with the listeners while we got you here?
Well, I guess a couple of minutes ago we were talking about dreams, and I was trying to figure out. I think I figured out a couple of months ago what I love is being somewhere like under the stars with a campfire, and so I'm building up a tour of I call them driveway concerts, but really they're private events, and sometimes I actually have one coming up in Telluride June 1st, where I park my van in front of someone's driveway. They invite people, but I want to go maybe like do a farm tour or something like that where it's rural, under the stars. People get a bunch of people. We have a giant campfire. The van is right there, and then I do a little show, and then we just drink tea and have a circle of just jamming. That sounds like. And if every day, or I don't want to be greedy, God, maybe every other day, I can do one of those. That'll be a dream come true. So if you want the
Well,
music to come to you, Eugene-music.com.
oh, great. That sounds great. We'll send that out there. We'll hold that intention, and it will happen. You
Yeah,
know.
I hope so.
Well, this has been great. I've enjoyed talking with you. I'm glad Ariel introduced us. I love seeing. I love the concept. So thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. All right, listeners, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Remember, my book is on Amazon, The Spiritual Artist. You can follow me there. I'm having a new book coming out soon called Spiritual Parable, and you'll like that as well. And I think you should check out Eugene on Spotify or go to his site and listen to some of this music or sign up for what's the club?
Genie Club.
Genie Club, because I think that's just amazing, and be a participatory person with this music, where you can actually choose what he's working on. So anyway, thank you for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Go out there and be a spiritual artist. Bye.
Amen.
Thanks again for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Whether you're watching this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or iHeartRadio, make sure you choose the subscribe button so that you will receive updates when new segments are released. Most importantly, be still, listen, and know that you are a spiritual artist.